Hi, nice to meet you. Glad to be able to talk to you. Thank you for asking for some advice on this important topic. Let me just read some of what you wrote here. You said, "Hi, Paul. I'd like for your help on a few things. One, self-love. Two, creating my own happiness, pure, genuine happiness. Three, how to be a positive, stress-free person, always thinking positive and talking positive. And also, how to treat my partner with respect. He is very important in my life. We used to talk for hours, and now we don't. Sometimes I feel like he's kind of scared of me because he always wants good vibes, and I kill them by starting arguments. This is because I don't know how to approach him in a respectful and polite manner about serious matters. I'm always aggressive. I want to be able to talk to him without feeling like he's being ambushed. I want to learn to relax and be myself on the phone and around him. I really appreciate your help. Thanks." All right, well, I don't know how deep you want me to get. A lot of people, I think, come and I tell them something very profound. And I don't know that they believe it, or they don't want to follow through on it, or they can't comprehend it. But I'm just going to hit you hard. I'm going to hit you real hard, and hopefully something will resonate, and you'll get something out of it. And then what you choose to do with your life is your own thing. So let's just start really hardcore here. There's no easy pill. I can just say, here you go, take this, everything's gonna be fine, because I have this worldly advice and everything's gonna be fine, and you're gonna just do this, and if you do this, everything's gonna be fine. No, it's not gonna be like that. Because this world is a hostile place. We have fleshly form, vulnerable to pain. We don't know where we came from or where we're going. We're incredibly on edge because if we're truthful with ourselves, we know how vulnerable we are. We know that we're just this one little tiny little thing in this great big sea of people that all seem like, a lot of them anyway, seem like they got their act together and they've got it better than we do. And that makes us feel very insecure because it seems like other people know everything, and you want to be more like them. It seems like, especially with television and movies, people are arriving at happiness. And it just makes sense that you should be able to do that too by following certain steps. Well, I think you can, but it isn't going to be like you think. I've done it, and what I've created is not what I'd call a self-love or a happiness or a stress-free existence. But I can get you to the steps that you're asking for as a final outcome. Number 4. Really, you want these things because you think that's what's going to cause the final outcome. The final outcome is how to treat your partner with respect, because he's an important part of your life. How to have better ability to talk with him without starting arguments. Build on that relationship. That's what you ultimately want. You feel as though what you're doing now is negative, and you're making him feel like he's being ambushed, doesn't want a part of that, and it's not building, it's tearing apart. I can help you with that. But what you must first realize is the first 3, self-love, having happiness, genuine happiness, and positive, stress-free person, isn't necessarily the way to get to number 4. I believe perspective counseling, which is what I do, is the way to get to number 4. I utilize it in my own life and have done so very, very well and for a long time. And I've achieved what you want to achieve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how I achieve what you want to achieve so that you can. First off, like I started to say, we're a fleshly form. We're vulnerable to pain, emotional, physical. We have anxiety because we don't know where we came from or where we're going. We believe, many have given us the idea that the afterlife could be wonderful. Some say it's horrible. Some say it doesn't exist. I don't know what your point of view is on this, and it doesn't really matter. Because if you realize the few things I'm going to share with you now, you can get to where you're going. And that's what's most important, because that's why you reached out for help. One of the things you must realize, and that I stress in many, many of my videos, is that our perception or our perspective of the world around us is flawed, and you have the tools within your hands of correcting the flaw. Now, you can't see all things, you can't know all things, but there is one thing that you can know that will help you tremendously, and that is that nobody around you knows anything. Now, that includes you. Once you realize that, that gives you a great deal of power and ability to sort out your life and to get perspective that will help you in all the things that you do. The reason why that helps, and the reason why you need to start doing that now, is because your perspective that you're currently having that's indicating to you what you need to do is false. It's totally false, because you're assuming that others have something that you don't, and that they are solid and they're well-founded. And if you could just figure out what it is, you'd get it too. The truth is, they're projecting images. Most of those images, even though they come off to you as really profound and something you want, desirable, in most of their minds, they are not sure of what it is that they feel, or what they are, or what they are, I don't want to say hiding inside, but incapable of fully understanding with conscious growth. And so what they do is they wear a mask. And I'm not saying they do this because they're deceptive. They do it because they can't help it. They wear a mask because they don't know any better. They too are looking at everyone else. And they too are trying to find their way like everyone else. And they too come to some kind of a conclusion that helps them to be who they are and project that to the world. Just like you're trying to do. I'm not saying they're not trying really hard, but I think they're failing. Why are they failing? I believe because we're not meant to succeed at what you've asked. We're not meant to love ourselves. I mean, if you really take a hard look, you must take care of yourself. You must care for yourself. You must be a wholesome and a well-developed person. In body, mind, spirit, everything that you can possibly fathom. Yes, that's true. And you could take your words, wanting to have self-love, and apply that to that and say, well, if I have self-love, I'm going to do these things. Okay, fine. In that case, I guess I agree with you. You have to have self-love. But you also realize that you're taking care of a vessel that's vulnerable, susceptible to pain and all kinds of hardships. And you have to do incredible things a lot of times, unless you just fall into great places in life where you have wealth and things that take care of it for you. You have to do incredible things to persevere. You have to do incredible things to be solid. You have to do incredible things on a regular basis that may seem, if we get good at them, it might seem mundane and easy after a while if we're good at it. Some people maybe never get to that stage, but it can be mastered. It's like a craft. We learn how to craft our lives so that we can be physically taken care of, mentally taken care of. We learn all kinds of devices and techniques that we get from others or from our own origination. What I'm sharing with you is from my own origination right now. The idea that I find myself where I am, and I find that no one knows anything, and I find that I can look out and find things that I think are most likely the answers, but by me not knowing that they're the answers, by me not knowing that someone else has something that I don't have, what I do is I level the playing field. I equalize everything. And this is a tremendous tool. You have to think about this and fathom this and try to make it happen in your life. The reason why it's a tremendous tool, and you can watch some of my other videos and I'll imply this in many different ways, is because now you realize there could be greater things. There could be real answers. But you realize that you're responsible for them being found by yourself, and others aren't. And you're responsible for what you ultimately do and become and are, and others aren't. You give yourself this power by admitting that you don't know. Once you do that, you realize no one else does either. You can't know. You try as hard as you want. You can try to convince yourself. You can try to be certain. You can try to study and grow and do all these harmonious things with others and adopt different people's belief systems and try different techniques on others and with yourself. But when you're all done and it all boils down, you have to realize you just don't know anything. These are all just techniques. When you realize you don't know anything, you become right on the dawn of a new way of being, because you're capable now of realizing that everybody else doesn't know everything or anything. And when you're there, you can start to make your things happen. So you want to create your own happiness. You want pure, genuine happiness. How can we be purely genuine happy? Without false props up, without self-delusion, when we don't know where we've come from, we don't know where we're going, or if we're going to be subject to difficulties in financial and physical and all kinds of things that can affect our human being general nature. We don't know, and we don't know if that's going to happen to us or not. We don't know how it's going to happen to us. We don't know when it's going to happen to us. We don't know if we can overcome the difficulties. And we could have a harder time tomorrow than we do today. We don't know what lies beyond our physicality, our here and now. We could set ourselves up for disaster by subscribing to different people's beliefs and ideologies and religions and things like this. If we're following the wrong one and we're wholehearted about it and we're certain and it becomes everything for us and we're off or we're wrong, well then we've just wasted our life. So how on earth can we be happy with so much turmoil about to come down the road at us? How on earth can we be happy? I submit to you the greatest strength is in the first thing I said. The greatest strength you can have of happiness is not letting anybody else deteriorate your happiness. Lessening all their beliefs and ideas and things that they project at you to nothingness. Because when you do that, you have less slings and arrows coming at you. You have only the ones you create or allow. Now, you can grapple with the things in your life and really take hold of whatever it is, because you can look and analyze it clearly with new perspectives that you never had before. But is that going to make you genuinely happy? Probably not, because you're still going to be on edge. You're going to say, what if something else happens tomorrow that's worse than this? What if? No one, including me, can tell you about the what ifs. So what do you do in that bubble that's negative and guaranteed to never tell anything for sure to you or anyone else? What do? You get rid of everything. You create a vacuum. You create just the here and now, just the understanding of what you are, and you say, what do I want to do with that now that I've seen it and I've accepted it? Don't go looking to anyone else. Don't go looking to me. Don't go and emulate anything that you've seen. You don't know whether it's coming from that pure source that you've just tapped into or some other corrupted thing. If you go and try to emulate what you're going to do with someone else's example, you take a risk that they didn't do what you're doing now. You take a risk that they did not come to this greater understanding of heightened consciousness and perspective counseling that we're talking about right now, and you take a risk of putting that on you. And then how do you get it off? You don't even know where it came from. So don't do that. Take a look at what you've got. Be realistic and honest with yourself. Find genuine happiness in the fact that you've thrown everything else out and you're 100% your own person. Probably more so than the person you want to relate with even. Now, when you've done this, it may do things to you. It may make it so that you become so consciously heightened, you find you don't even want this other person. I don't know. because we don't know the whole situation. I'm giving you a generic point of view here. But let's say you do. You find positive qualities in that person. And you want to be with that. You want to be near that. You want to grow into that. Well, if that's the case, and after your better perspective that you've developed with what we're talking about here, and you still want to do that, then you need to shed the things that are repelling him away. You apparently are stressful. I don't know whether or not the stressful qualities that you have that you'd like to shed are because of those other things that are being dumped on you from others that you just accepted and lobbed it on to the rest of your stress, or whether it's a stress that is more pure in nature, like I was talking to you about how you know you're vulnerable. You know these things, you don't know where you came from, where you're going. You don't know what the afterlife is, if there is one or not, or if this is all there is, and whatever. You don't know those things. And that pure essence of stress, which I believe is part of the human nature, because we can't get past knowing about them. We try to delude ourselves. We have all these ways to pacify ourselves and give us tricks and things we play on ourselves and others so that we can feel comfortable. Maybe some of the stress is coming from you inside knowing that you can't know, and you're accepting that. Let that stress be a part of there. Let that stress be a part of your whole, because it's realistic. You could be in peril tomorrow. You could be harmed. You could suffer. You could have all kinds of human negative ramifications that are done to you, or that are in you, or of you. Yes, there's plenty of reason to be stressed. If I were here to just ease your mind and everything, so I'll take in money. A lot of people that you'll go to, they'll tell people whatever they think is best so that they can thrive. I make sure that I never make any money. Why? Because I want the person I'm talking to know that I have no ulterior motives. I want the person that I'm talking to know that I'm giving them advice based on just pure, realistic, clean perspective that has not been tainted by any other source. And I can only do that if I don't ask for anything. I don't want anything. If you ask me what I want, my answer is very simple. Just simply to be what I'm meant to be and help others by being sure to that. That is who I am, what I want, and what I strive for. I don't ask for anything else other than my best chance to try to help anybody that asks. To continue on, I hope you trust what I'm saying in the sense that you'd like to look at it at least. I hope you think it's not a bunch of malarkey. I hope you don't think some spiritual story that you've heard or whatever on its own is going to lift you up. I hope you don't say, I'm not going to listen to this guy anymore because I thought I was going to come and he's going to give the answers, and he's saying, ugh, it's just as bad as I thought. I hope not. Because now we're going to talk about how you're actually going to get where you want to go by realizing these things that I'm telling you about. You will take care of yourself. You will realize the value of what you can offer in spite of the difficulties that your humanness holds you to. Because you realize what you're capable of, you'll need to make sure you keep on going on as long as you can and as well as you can. In that sense, you'll realize that you have purpose and value. You'll take care of it. You'll learn to have what you're calling self-love so that you can be effective, so that you can be all that you can be. In my case, my desire is to be of service. My desire is to be of helpfulness. How do I do that? I make sure that I'm always equipped to do that. You'd be surprised how little I'm asked. You'd be surprised, maybe, how many people in the world think they got it all together. They don't need to ask or look. Again, that's because they all think they know. When we start to see this perspective, we can release ourselves from it. That release will give you the power you need to do self-correction. So you're going to use self-love. Why? Because the potential of what you can do in service or in your creativity of what you were meant to be is unlimited. We don't know that we'll ever get there. I would suggest that every single day you make it as if you wouldn't have another chance, and you be everything you can be right now. One of the things with conscious counseling we try to stress here is, if you understand these things, you can have this result immediately. You don't have to wait. You don't have to have patience. You don't have to have some big training program where you have pamphlets coming in the mail and additional readings and follow-up counseling and all that stuff. You don't even need to have follow-up counseling. If you realize that your value, that you're going to start to love so that you can make sure it starts to come out, needs to be not only today, but all as long as you go, that your importance right now and what you can do in this day is incredibly significant. And if you get another day, you get a chance to be more significant, and another day more so, and so on. But you have to realize that right this minute, you can have that and start that by just realizing these things I've talked about here and using some of these perspective tools. Right now, you're able to see, you're able to hear, you're able to do basic things that human beings do. Even though I don't know you, I assume this is the case. You have much ability right now to do incredible things today. If you live again tomorrow, you have the ability to continue. If you don't, then if you did what we talked about today, who can imagine how much greatness you could do in just one day's time? I'm not even going to go there. Spend the rest of the day talking about that. It's incredible. If you're going to look somewhere for genuine happiness, I'd ponder on that. I'd focus on that. The great amount of good that each person is given with their creativity and their being to do so much, not only for themselves, by realizing these things and being well balanced and not being susceptible to the slings and arrows of the outside world, but once they have that strength, to do it for others, to realize the value of doing it for others. And don't think it'll be overwhelming. It won't, because people will not ask. They will not come to you. They think they're fine. Now, of course, you have the needy. Yeah, they want to eat. You have, all these different people that have like various human needs. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. But you're not going to help them unless you're independently wealthy or you've got some way to work that out. Maybe you will come into that way of working that out. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, they don't realize they have the need that you realized you had in order to come to me and ask for me to talk with you. They don't have that. So few people have that. I hope that you're listening and you're saying, gosh, this isn't what I expected, but I'm going to use my evaluation abilities that I have in my mind to see if there's anything to this. I'm going to put it to the test before I throw it out. Because if you throw it out, you're never going to get anywhere. You've got to at least put this to the test. I pretty much can guarantee you there aren't going to be very many people like myself that just sit here and talk with you and give every gem that they've gathered over their life's search and useful purpose and just spill it out there for you. I doubt you're going to find that. It's very rare. I can't find it. If I wanted to go to someone else, I can't find it. I can't find it at all. And, supposedly if I paid for it, I would, but I'm not even going to try that because I think it's already been tainted once you do that. I think now it's a product. It's like some lesser thing. I don't offer that. So concentrate to find that pure, genuine happiness in the fact that you've just released yourself. By what we've just shared in a perspective shift, you've just released yourself. Now, if you don't get it, you're probably not going to be able to make it happen. Watch the video a few times. Ponder on it. Think about it. By the perspective shift, you'll no longer be living according to the way you saw things prior to talking about this. You'll now be living by this new perspective shift. If you can do that, then you can be genuinely happy in that you've done it, because it's a huge paradigm shift that can be incredibly life-altering. Now you go about kind of sketchy talking about these first three, you're still going to have the physical ailments that you could become susceptible to. You're still going to not know whether all the factors in your life are going to work out okay so that you can have pleasure and happiness and balance and relationship satisfaction. So you're going to be stressful. But if you don't put that as your main priority, you only have that as another thing you can also have once you have everything else going, some of that stress will lessen. Because you must, as you said, love yourself first. You must put your strength and happiness and health first. If you do it in the right way, you can alleviate the stress that's coming from others that want you to think that their way's best and they know and you don't, and you're small somehow and they're going to make you big. But you can also stop thinking that if you don't make exactly what it is you want to happen with this person happen right now, that you've somehow failed. No! That's an additional gift with purchase that you can get if you do what we're talking about here. If it's worthy to be done, if after you've grown and heightened, you still think this person's worthy, and you still want this person, and you still want to do what you want to do to reach this person, you can. But now, you'll be doing it on the right track. You'll be able to do it for the right reasons, and you'll be bringing the new you. Now, is this person, if you start talking about the new you and they don't get it or they don't want to get it, well, that's one of the first things that's going to blow up in your face. Very few people reach out for help. A lot of people, if you try to help them or you try to suggest they need help, they get offended by it. They think when you come down from where you think you know everything and you got it together and someone else suggests you don't, oh, that's too far to fall. People can't do it. So if you approach him on those grounds, you're going to probably not do very well. What you want to do is you want to rise to this high-level thing. He wants to see in you great things, which you're going to be producing because these perspectives can produce those things naturally. And when he does, that change, that inner welling up of light and spark is going to be noticed by him. Let that do a lot of the work. Don't try so hard. If genuine change is happening, it's going to be noticed. Oh, it's going to be noticed. Let that be from the place you work. Back there. Okay? Don't go and try to out-argue him and bring him into another one of your failed ideas of what you think things should be like. You were probably wrong from the moment you started the argument because the thing you were trying to win, you probably didn't even know well enough. Probably wasn't even worthy. Probably was a failed idea that you lobbed onto yourself and got yourself trapped by in the first place. So even if you won the argument, what would you have done? You would have only convinced him of something that was already trapping you. That's not worth arguing. What you want to do now is you want to only bring positive things to the table. And remember what we talked about first. You eliminate all the things that everybody else thinks are great because they don't know. And you go to the source to find out what's great and put it on the table. Now, whatever you bring to him isn't going to cause argument. It's only going to be pure. It's only going to be good. And when that starts to happen, your relationship will improve if this person also desires to have goodness come to them. If this person also desires to have the value that you've come to see through this perspective enhancement part of them. They may not. They may be swimming in darkness and like it there. They may like some of the illusions they've created for themselves or the things they've bought from others that seem to make sense. They might be so ingrained in it, it may be so required by them to hold themselves up in the position they are that the very thought of, oh my gosh, what would I do if that wasn't there? I'd fall for sure. You may not be strong enough to make that person see right off the bat that that's not the case, but they may think for sure that it is. And their act of thinking for sure that what they found is greater than what you can offer may cause stress and difficulties in your relationship if you push it Believe me, I've got a lot to offer a lot of people, but I can't even go and suggest it to most people because they are so convinced that they've got it. They got it together. I'm guessing that just with the law of probability, that your partner thinks he's got it together at least more than what you can offer. So that's going to be your new problem now. If you're able to see what I'm saying and make something new happen in your life, even if you're successful at that, the chances are that the other person might not get it from you, that you might not be able to be harmonious while you're nurturing. The other person may not want it. You may not be able to converse. You may not be able to convert that person into a person that wants it. So even though you have good gifts to give, you may not get them to see the value in it. And if that's the case, you'll be right back where you are now. Arguments. And it'll be cyclical, and you won't get past it. So what you got to do is what you want. You've got to become strong in your own self to where you become so valuable and so willing to give that any fool could see how having you in their life would be wonderful. But you just start feeding it little scraps at a time. Wow, that was nice. Oh, she really cares. Oh, she has something that, gosh, the most learned people and people I look up to don't even have. What you'll become is something so valuable, and his inner knowing of you, close up, an examination of you, will have so much more than anyone else could possibly have. He'll come to you first. When he starts to come to you first, all these other things that he's standing on may start to dissolve and fall away. In a nurturing way, you may help him to see what it is, where you're getting what you've got. But don't make that first. Make it first how he sees that there's something so special there. And then have him start to want it, and then start to give slowly and lovingly and serving, so that the other things that he was falsely propped up on, that weren't really giving in any of those capacities at all, but only were false delusions that humankind trade with one another, will drop away. When that happens, you'll have the keys to the front door. If this person's worthy, and you believe them to be worthy, and you will still want them, then that will be how you start to do number 4. Treat him with respect. So, respect. Let's treat him with respect that he's a fellow human being, and you probably think he's most likely lost, just like you probably were, not seeing these broader perspectives, and he's propping himself up on these perspectives just to get by. It's a part of the human nature. So you have to respect him now that you've seen this. You have to, because you know he's a victim of it. So if you care for him and you know he's a victim of it because you once saw yourself that way until you had this perspective shift, you now have respect for him because you know he needs service. You know he needs help. You know he's a victim. So now you have respect for him. You have compassion and empathy because he was once or is where you once were, and he needs lifting. He needs things to drop away that are blocking his perspective, heightened conscious enlightenment of the picture that he's looking at in life. You'll automatically find respect like you're asking if you think about these things I'm talking to you about. The respect will come naturally because you'll see him as someone in need, just like you were. And when you see that, you'll act accordingly. You say is a very important part of your life. You used to talk for hours and now you don't. Well, guess what? What I've shared with you here, you could talk the rest of your life about the subtle nuances of where this can take you both. This will never have an end of growth potential, of human potential, of service potential, of heightened conscious potential. It will never be at an end. Make this, once you both arrive at the understanding, part of what you now talk with one another about. It'll never end. Because if you make it through the day and you are successful today at being whatever you can be, you can trust that tomorrow you can do that again too. And when you're a team, you can decide, well, how are we going to? What did we do yesterday? What are we going to do today? That will be an endless source of talking once you find them worthy of taking the path that you're on. You'll never have a problem with the talking. Trivial talking is crap. Talking about all the things that we're interested in, that we're trading and sharing with everybody else, is crap. Of course that'll run out. It was hollow. It wasn't ever going to help you in the first place. Of course you'll stop talking after a while. You get bored of trading the same old junk that doesn't hold anything. You start holding things in your hands that are very valuable and meaningful. Things that are hard to share, but that can be shared through effort. And you'll never have any limit of what you can talk about, because you'll be talking about the most important things, the most genuine things that humankind can actually share. And that is part of our purpose. So you won't be starting arguments once you know that your points of view are the same. Once you both value this. Now, how can you live with this person if they don't come to value it? Maybe you shouldn't be. I'm married. I have to make sure that I'm making sure that we value these things together. I have no choice. I can't walk away. I believe that I shouldn't, and if I do, I will be lessened. Right? I don't know what state you are in with this person. You could walk away, but he's just as likely to be helped as the next person. And so you already have feelings for him. You already have a back history. Why don't you make him your target? Why don't you go ahead and invest everything you can in him? Go ahead. But don't do the arguments, because that what you're doing when you do the arguments is, even if you've got good stuff to bring to the table, you're putting him in a place where he's going to have to argue back. And because these subtle things I'm talking about that have to do with heightened conscious are so not easily wrapped up and given. If they were, everybody'd have them. And people probably charge for them, but that's pretty bad. Because then that would make you wonder whether they really had them again. But they're not easily put on a platter and shown. They have to be subtly discussed and lovingly evaluated. So if you bring the arguments in, the chances of you doing that go out the window. So don't approach it with arguments. So we know you're going to respect him because he's vulnerable like you were and hasn't seen. We know that you are going to not do the arguing because the subtle characteristics of the thing that you're trying to describe and share and give and serve with are so tender, and they're heightened, but at the same time they're small. And through arguing, you're never going to give that fluidly. So you're not going to argue. You're going to respect. You're not going to argue. You have good vibes. What are the good vibes? Well, that was the stuff I was talking about, was welling up in front of you, welling up in you. The good vibes are going to just project out because you now have something you didn't have before we talked about these things, and you got it. You now have something that you didn't have before that is of the essence of the creation of the person, to overcome the vulnerability and to realize what they can do and what they're here to do and what they're able to do. And grab onto that without intervention from any other negative forces. That's where the positive vibes are going to ultimately come from. If you want ultimate happiness, you're going to suck it out of that, because that is what's real. That is what you can count on, so long as you're consciously aware and physically able. Your positive, genuine happiness has to come out of that and not out of some smaller thing. If you use any smaller thing to find genuine positive happiness, you're going to be limited in the amount of happiness you can have by the limits of that fallible, smaller thing. So that's not where you want to look for happiness. So that's where the positive vibes are going to come from. The fact that your thing that you're getting your happiness from is so large, it's so incomprehensible by most people, that the vibes are infinite. The goodness of realization as you travel this road are so large, that's where they're going to come from. That's where the vibes are going to come from. They're going to come naturally because they're coming from a place that so rare, but so valuable, and you've found it. That's where the good vibes are going to come from. You're not going to seek to destroy and create, you're not going to seek to destroy and not bring harmony to another that you know you're going to have to work with really very carefully and sensitively and lovingly to hold this thing that you now hold dear because you've seen it for the first time. You're going to not have anything but positive vibes because you realize the importance of the value of the thing that you hold with this new perspective is worthy. And the positive vibes will help you to remember that. And it will help you to generate that in your own life and hopefully lovingly in service type way of being offered to others. And you want to be polite. Well, polite is just a stupid human thing. It's a contrivance. It's a surface artificial thing. It's as thin as anything you could possibly have. It's respectful blindly. It's respectful, not even knowing why we're being respectful. I think it's more to protect ourselves, because if we're polite, we get more with sugar than with salt. Well, that's just so self-serving to just be polite. So I'm just going to ignore that word there, and just the politeness will automatically come by knowing that you have something good to offer, and you know that the person's hopefully worthy of it, and you're wanting to offer it. The politeness will automatically come, because what are you there for now? You're there as a servant. So the goodness will automatically come. The politeness will automatically come. The good vibes will automatically come. You don't need to think about them. They'll be of the essence that you now are, that you bring. If they're not, go back to step one. You missed something. They should be natural. They should be a part of your new perspective from this point forth. And he's never going to feel on the defensive, because you're never going to overstep your bounds. If you're there for being a servant, if you're there for being a loving, caring person that only wants to give to someone who's lacking like you were once, you'll never make him feel ambushed, because you only want to give positively. If you're seeing him get frazzled, oh no, my support mechanisms are going to fall apart if I believe and subscribe onto these things that you're trying to share with me, oh, I can't do it. And then you see the wall go up, and he starts to become feeling ambushed, you're already failing. You're dealing it out too fast. If you deal it out too fast, and all they see is the threat of not having the stability that they thought they've worked so hard at in their life to hold on to, they're going to feel ambushed, and they're going to defend themselves, even though what they're defending isn't as great and as large and as perfect and as wholesome as what you're giving. They're still going to do it. All right. There you go. The secrets of the universe. There's nothing more you need to do. You never even need to talk to me further. Everything I've just shared with you is all you would ever need to know. But I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to just simply say, I hopefully have not alienated you until now, but now I'm going to take that last step that could possibly alienate you once again. Where does this come from? This is about a label. And it's the most irrelevant thing I'm going to say. And it's also a serious thing that I'm going to say. I believe that it comes from the divine source of God, our Creator. Because it's inherent in the evaluation, when you strip everything else away, of the plight that we've got going on here and our comparison to other individuals. But each one of us has it. It's created in us so that we all have the tool if we choose to use it. So I put a label on it of creation observance. That it's meant to be this way so that none of us are robots or stripped or shallow human beings, but we all have this capability. We just choose whether or not to use it. Now, what makes us choose whether or not to use it? I put another label on it. I believe that something was injected into our world that helps us to answer that calling. to see that it needs to be answered, to see that it's even there to be asked. And I labeled that I personally saw it through my study and implementation of Jesus' teachings. And that's how I got it. And I believe because of that it must be that way. Now, you could say, I could get it from another source. Or, okay, well, a lot of people are doing the same thing. Okay, it doesn't have to be that. Okay. I don't want to judge, and I don't want to tell. I just want to share. I have seen what has been said, studied it, evaluated it, put it in context of the whole, over and over again, compared it with everything that I've seen, filtered everything that comes in so that I see whether it's this or that, sorted it out, spent my whole life making it about that, and then came up with this ability to talk with someone like you that I've never even met and give you all the keys you need because I've already used them and know they work. And then at the end, put a label on it. I put a label on it. And I believe that even if it wasn't real, even if the things I'm putting the label on aren't true, somehow the devices held what you now want to hold when you take it to your partner. Somehow the devices had it, and I didn't. I had to receive it. I had to see it. I had to test it. I had to implement it. How do you label that? Was it all conjured up in my mind? Maybe. What? Are we like gods? Maybe. Did we manufacture this? If we did, it's a delusion. So how do you test it, whether it's manufactured or not? You know yourself, if you choose to. And you know how little you know. Because you know how little you know that others are in that same state if they're human. This is what I started off the video with. This is what gives you the power. This is what gives you the clarity. And then I would suggest to you that heightened consciousness, heightened intelligence comes from examining all things, becoming self-aware by knowing, once you've examined it, what you can throw out, what is fluff, what is human delusion and entrapment for human gain, with you being one of the suppliers. Throw those things out, but hold on to the gems that may come to you. And study them. Hold them dear. Share them and let them consume you. None of the things that have any ability to trap you, but only the things that have the ability to let you see these things I'm sharing with. But at the end, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It could be cyclical. It could be that you got these things because you were meant to by the source that many others ridicule and look down at. Don't do that anymore, because there was something really good there. I suggest to you it's probably good because it is what it's supposed to be. That's just my point of view. But even if it isn't what it's supposed to be, it's still everything you need and very, very good. I just go ahead and put that label on. So therefore it is what it's supposed to be. Talk with me some more.